Prior to spring break, little did we know how the world would be turned upside down with the coronavirus. But it has affected everything from businesses to education. And today on Your Story, Our Purpose, One Heartbeat, we are going to look at how the Tupelo Public School District is going to take the challenge of continuing education with our students with distance learning. With me today is our superintendent, Dr. Rob Picou. And Dr. Picou, in the last 10 days, our staff has basically put together a program that would normally take a year and a half to put together for this online learning.
Yeah, Greg, that's absolutely correct. Try to imagine what it would be like if Toyota had to quit making cars tomorrow and start making rocket ships. And they had to redesign their entire program in 5 days, doing it on Google Meet, without seeing each other face to face, and with no real guidance from the federal government, from the state government, from anyone. A complete redesign. It's quite challenging, but our staff at Tupelo Public School District, as you know, they're up to the challenge.
We have put on our social media platforms for teachers and students to show us their pictures, and we've been inundated with pictures, and it's almost like it's refreshing for them because they're, after kind of a week of uncertainty, they're kind of getting back into a routine, especially with learning. We've had some students do testing, and then we go live on Monday the 30th.
Yeah, Monday the 30th. There are a lot of preparations that had to be put into place, a lot of details that still need to be worked out. This is truthfully unprecedented, and I think folks just have a real team spirit. Everyone's pitching in and doing whatever they can do to try to provide some level of learning activities for students to use at home and for parents to use at home.
Education doesn't stop, so let's look at distance learning, and I got a few questions for you.
Yeah.
How is this going to work? Are we going to require students, all right, at 8 o'clock, you get up, you start, or is it going to be on their own pace?
I would encourage every parent to develop their own schedule that works in their homes. This is truly a hybrid model. It's a homeschool school model. So I would encourage every parent to establish a schedule at home that they're able to use and then utilize the resources that are available online and through the Google Classrooms that are being provided by their teachers and the packets that are being mailed out from the individual schools.
And that's what the teachers and administrators have been working on heavily this week, are the packets, are kind of, I don't want to say lesson plans, but for lack of a better word, lesson plans.
Yeah, you have to remember we have 7,000 students. 1,200 IEPs. In education, if it's done well, is by nature a very individualized process.
Right.
And all of those teachers are currently trying to design programs that will meet the needs of all the students, the very different students that we have.
Now let's talk a little bit about Google Classroom. Will the teachers do their own videos of themselves? Will it be live? Can students interact with other students during this time on Google Classroom?
There will be a little of student interaction. It'll be limited, very limited, because we just don't have the capacity technology-wise to have a situation. We just don't have a really robust LMS learning management software program, but we're going to work toward developing one. But to have to do this in 1 week. Each teacher is responsible for designing a program that will best meet his or her students' needs. And this is not a one-size-fits-all. And education never has been or should never be a one-size-fits-all.
So let's go. I know it's going to be different for our elementary age kids as opposed to our high school or our secondary level. How many hours do you think the kids should spend a day with these class projects that they'll have online?
There again, that will be class specific.
Okay.
That's something that the teachers are designing, that they're going to put out the information. I would say no, it won't be a full day.
Okay.
But every class will be differently, and age differences depending upon the level.
Right.
Many of our teachers had already been putting things out.
They have.
Yeah, and they just took the initiative because they knew what the students needed. I know there's a science teacher I heard about from my neighbor who's been putting information out. There are a couple of high school teachers who were putting information out. So this is really a systemic approach to putting things out there.
Of course, not all of our students live, right within the city limits. Some live out that may not have internet access. So what is the option for those families or even the teachers who don't have internet access?
Yeah, that was something we found. Many people don't have internet access, so it was really challenging to be able to provide internet services. Most people have a telephone. So we're designing a program that can be accessible by your telephone, and programs that are they're actually learning opportunities that exist in the current spectrum of the child's learning day.
Right.
So it's something that we design that where you can access it by your phone, you can access it with any device in conjunction with the learning package.
And what's been nice, I know C Spire, AT&T, and Verizon has already reached out to us and told us, hey, for those families who may not be able to afford it, here's some options for them. They're going to waive, like if you're on a limit, the number or how much time that you can spend on the internet. So everybody sees the obstacles we face, and they seem to want to help make sure our kids are still learning.
Yeah, not only was there a challenge in terms of who did not have internet at home or didn't have internet at home, or did have internet at home, but it was also a challenge in terms of the speed that people had at home. So, I mean, you need a very robust speed in order to do an interactive, big environment where people are interacting online.
People are going to have to be patient. I mean, we saw yesterday with our first virtual board meeting, when you have that many people on there, if one person freezes up, it can be a little challenging.
Yeah, but we're real grateful for our partnership with C Spire, and what was the other one?
AT&T and
Verizon, that are offering these opportunities to parents, because this truthfully is a time when everyone in the community needs to come into what we like to call the one single heartbeat and pitch in and do whatever they can do to keep students at least actively engaged in the learning process throughout this emergency school closure.
Of course, the last day of school was the Friday before spring break. State testing has been suspended for this year.
All state testing has been suspended, so teachers are allowed to be creative.
Maybe they can learn something that will carry over for future years.
Yeah, I think there are going to be many positive things that come out of this. I can see the relationship between parents and teachers becoming stronger. Teachers are available from 9 till 3 every day. They have office hours. So parents can call teachers, can text teachers. I mean, there's ways to get in touch with teachers from 9 till 3.
Let's talk about
through Google Classroom.
Yes. Let's talk about grading now. That's been the question I seem to be getting a lot. Well, how am I going to be graded on this?
Yeah, the most challenging part of this has turned out to be the high school, as you would expect, because high school is so dependent upon GPAs and letter grades, and there's, I don't know exactly how many teachers at the high school, but a couple hundred.
Right.
And they each grade differently. Each, like Spanish is different than art, art is different than health, health is different than math. So there's so much variation in terms of how teachers grade. So the one thing that we're talking a lot about is whatever the work or learning assignments that the students complete at this point in time, it won't work against them, it can only work for them.
Gotcha.
So they can advance their grade, but whatever their grade was at the end of the third 9 weeks, that's where the grade is, and then that's where it'll stay until the end. But they have an opportunity to advance their grade.
But not go backwards.
Not go backwards. Because this is a major disruption.
Right. And it wouldn't be fair. I mean,
so many variations even among students who have support at home, who have access to internet. There's just so many variables. There was no way we could create something that would penalize a student.
You have been working yourself a lot behind the scenes with the Mississippi Department of Education on where to go. And you mentioned this yesterday. The one thing is the whole state's in this together.
Yeah, everybody's trying to figure this out. And to be honest, the teachers at the high school, they're working diligently trying to figure out. They're having many, many productive conversations at the high school right now about grading.
Right.
That's been their biggest conversation. Most teachers have no problem getting content out. It's what to do with the content when the content comes in.
Right.
How do you grade it? How do you get students to complete it? There are many, many questions.
We just hope the internet is going to be as reliable, but you got to understand the nation's not used to everybody being on the internet.
Exactly right. Yeah, that happened the other day. The internet went down, and I wondered if it was because so many people were on it at the same time.
So just be patient. And everybody still has their cell phone, so and our teachers are reaching out to students.
Yeah, and we're doing this at my home. We've established a schedule with my sons. We have established a social contract in terms of expected behavior, and some incentives for getting completed what they need to complete, and some disincentives when they don't get completed what they need to complete. I think that's important to establish that social contract and get a commitment from those students in order to know what they need to get done and hold them accountable.
Exactly. You're talking about, you're not just a superintendent, you're a parent of TPSD. You talked about the schedule, and I've heard so many people say, I just need my routine back. How important is it until we are able to come back to school to have that routine at home?
Yeah, it's extremely important. It's extremely important that you establish expectations and routine. For instance, we start at 10. We let them sleep in a little bit, and then we get rolling at 10 o'clock, and then we keep going to about 2, and they typically get everything they need done with a lunch built in at 2, and then they get their free time.
Dr. Picou, through all this, what has surprised you the most?
I would just say the tremendous creative spirit that's been unleashed in our teachers and our principals, and their willingness to jump in and engage in this work, and how they see this as an opportunity to really partner with their parents and design something that, who knows, may change the way we do business and education in the future. This is an opportunity to look at what's possible and build toward the future.
You answered my next question. This is obviously, and you said it, that this is the new norm for right now.
Yeah.
We're in unprecedented times. My question was going to be, what we've learned from this may carry over moving forward.
Yeah. What's good enough for yesterday is not good enough for today. We all know that about education. I'm very optimistic, and I like to quote Hemingway in this situation. I hope that when we reflect on this experience, we're able to get stronger in our broken places. And we certainly have room for improvement in any educational model, but I think this model's been designed for the 1950s, and not much has changed in the model, but time has changed. Students have changed, teaching processes and procedures have changed. So this is an opportunity for us to embrace the future together.
Speaking of change, you've mentioned quite often that you are in a text group with other superintendents in our area. What has been the general consensus amongst you all moving forward?
I would say generally the uncertainty.
Right.
More questions than answers, but a real spirit and a willingness to engage and figure this out. I mean, we can do this. I think we have a strong community in Northeast Mississippi and here in Tupelo, and I know we can figure this out and we can get through this crisis, and I think in the end we're going to come out stronger. I really do.
Well, Dr. Picou, thank you for your time. I'm kind of excited about Monday to see how everybody embraces this. This is something new. We're all in this together, not just Tupelo, but the entire state.
The entire country.
The entire country.
Yeah, the entire country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We know we won't be back in school before April 20th. Hopefully on April 20th we'll open our doors, but if not, we'll continue to go with our distance learning until they tell us we can go back to school.
Yeah, that's exactly right. April 20th is the target date. We have no one knows exactly what the crisis is going to look like at that point in time. So we'll be monitoring hourly. The situation changes hourly.
Yeah, minute by minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good luck to everybody out there as we learn a new style of learning with distance learning, and wish you all the best of luck. And we'll have more videos and updates in the weeks to come. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the school district. We are here for you, and we look forward to hearing your stories on how your learning is going. For Dr. Picou, I'm Greg Ellis. Have a great day.
Thank you.